Welcome to today's streams, my friends, and today we're going to be going over our contest, our Weapons of a Legend contest. So if you guys are out of the loop and you're not sure what we're talking about, at the time of this live stream and at the time you're watching this video, we have our first contest open. And we have until October 12th, so you still got about 2 weeks to participate in case you want to participate. Let me show you the image here real quick. There we go. It's this one right here. Weapons of Legends 3D Art Challenge. So the challenge is to create a weapon for a game that you're going to be designing from scratch. You can use existing lore or like stories and things like that, but the idea is for you to create the story for the weapon and create the weapon itself for a game ready asset. And we're going to be evaluating this in a couple of weeks. In October 13 actually, we're going to have our live stream. And you guys are going to be able to participate to win a $100 gift card for Amazon. So yeah, that's the idea of today's stream. Today's stream, I want to go through design processes, ideas, things that you can do to generate, to get your mind flowing and come up with interesting things for your element. So the first thing we need to decide is what kind of weapon are we going to be doing. And I've been doing a little bit of internal discussion in the last couple of days, and I actually want to do a bow. I'm a huge fan of bows. A lot of times when you have the option in games to use a bow, I like to go for a bow. And I think we're gonna do sci-fi because we've been doing a lot of medieval stuff lately. So I think it might be a good idea to do a sci-fi sort of bow. So I'm gonna copy an image of the bow right here. There we go. And what we're going to do in this first instance is we're going to start creating variations, okay? So let's bring this one right here. Let me crop this a little bit because we got a lot of empty space. There we go. Shift, Control I, and then delete. That's going to delete all of the pixels. And ideally, when you are working on a concept or any kind of thing, you always want to have enough variation. A very common thing that I see is that people will come up with an idea and they think that first idea is the best idea and they just roll with it. And usually if you do a little bit of exploration, you're going to be able to find more interesting things for yourself. So I'm going to show you today a technique that I learned a long time ago that's really good to, again, get your mind flowing and find interesting ideas that you can use to create characters, weapons, environments, anything. And this has a little bit to do with an evolutionary sort of, an evolutionary sort of thing in our eyes. When we are working with the way our brains and our eyes process information, it follows a sort of let's call it like a sequence. Like whenever you're trying to analyze something new, that's the first time you see it, your brain automatically is going to follow this sequence. But this sequence happens in an instant. It's like milliseconds of processing power that your brain has, and you just go through this list. The first thing, I'm gonna write it right here, is, by the way, I got a new set of brushes. I'll let you know which ones those are in just a second. There we go. Can we dock this somewhere? Really, we can dock them over here. There we go. So this one right here. If you guys, I can talk a little bit about some of the shortcuts that I have here in Photoshop for painting. But the first thing your brain looks at is contrast. Okay. So imagine you're in the jungle and there's a lot of palm trees and there's rocks and vegetation and stuff, and you see something move. There's a predator hunting you. The first thing you're gonna see is the shadow, right? Like the silhouette of the object, of the character or whatever thing is hunting you. And that is the contrast. So our brain is really good at understanding the difference between light and darkness, or light and shadow. And that's the first things that we're gonna see. Once we see that contrast, which again, usually we're gonna see this in the silhouette, then we're gonna start seeing the volume. Okay, so the 3D shape of the element. We're gonna get, in this case, the correct word would be depth. We're gonna know how far or how close, how big or how small the object is, and we're gonna be able to identify that sort of element. Once we see that, that's when we start seeing other things such as color, texture, other elements such as like the details, patterns, all of these different things. But in our case, contrast is the first thing that we need to look for. So I know we want to do a sort of like recurve bow, and I know I want to do sci-fi. Those are like my two main ideas. So let's write over here recurve, and let's do sci-fi. I have a character I did a while back. Some of you, let me know in the chats if you guys know which character I'm talking about. Her name is Saria, and she's a sci-fi character that I wish I could continue working on her, but unfortunately due to some unforeseen circumstances, that's not possible. It's this character right here. So I think I'm gonna be following a similar design process for her. Like I'm imagining she's gonna be holding this bow, the sci-fi bow in space. I know it looks very weird, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just fun, right? And again, as I mentioned, I've always find like bows to be very, very cool. By the way, there's some construction work going like literally outside my doorstep, so I apologize if there's a little bit of noise or if my voice sounds a little bit weird. Yes, we're gonna be doing a bow gaming instinct. We're gonna be working with that. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab this bows right here. I'm gonna press Ctrl L, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push all of the colors, all of the levels, all the way to the top, so that we're only seeing the silhouette of the bow. And that way, I'm not going to be distracted by textures. I'm not going to be distracted by anything. And I can start sketching ideas of how I would imagine this bow to be looking. So let's start with something like simple. And usually the first idea, again, that you have, or whenever you're designing something, the first thing that you're going to have is not always going to be the best one. So I'm thinking about like a very like edgy, sort of like, again, sci-fi kind of bow with a lot of indentations and angles, kind of like this. Of course, on the center line, you definitely want to have an option to hold the bow properly. I'm not sure if you guys shot the bow before. I have a bow myself. I don't shoot as much as I would like to be honest, but I do have a bow. Something like this, like a very angular, very jaggedy. There you go. Starting used to have a bow. Yeah, it's very, very cool. It's a very fun activity, to be honest. There we go. So I'm imagining this, and again, I'm not worrying about the detail. I'm not worrying about the armor plates. I'm not worrying about anything. I'm just worrying about silhouette. Like, does this silhouette looks cool? Doesn't look bad. Looks, again, a little bit edgy, I would say, but it looks interesting. Then I'm gonna pass on the next one. So this is kind of like purging your brain and just like dropping ideas onto the paper and seeing which of these ideas sticks. Because a lot of times, again, as I was mentioning, the first idea that you have is not gonna be the best idea. King's here, yes, of course. Every single stream that we have here in Discord is eventually gonna be in YouTube. So this one I want to make it a little bit more symmetrical, and I want to do like layers. So I'm gonna do something like this right here. There we go. Oh, that's a great question, Gaming Instincts. Why not use Midjourney for idea or generation? Midjourney is a great way, and I've talked about AI before. I'm not against AI. However, one thing that I've noticed with Midjourney is that the things that you get, since Midjourney and all of these AI models, they use information that's available online. When you grab things from that specific point, one of the elements that's going to happen is that everything's going to look very similar. So I like to use this approach first. I might use Midjourney every now and then to just like, again, get my ideas going. But I like this approach because it allows you to be way more original than just like a regurgitation of all of the things that are out there. So I was mentioning, this one's going to be a little bit more symmetrical. And then I'm going to do like another layer of plating. It's going to kind of like taper down to the back like here. So AI is not bad, but I've always seen, ever since I started using AI, I use a lot of ChatGPT or Bard, for instance, like text-based AI. And one of the things that I use it for is I use it for inspiration. So I throw in some ideas, I get something, and then I always modify. It's very, very weird that I'm just going to use whatever the AI gives me. Now, I kind of want to make this a lot bigger here on this upper part. There is a way to make sure it doesn't make things look similar. Midjourney has been updated heavily. There are many ways. No, yes, it's not that they look similar. It's that they, again, Midjourney as a model, it takes images right from the internet and it reimagines those things and creates like new interesting things. But at the end of the day, the data that you're using to feed it it's the data that's already available out there. So if you want to do something original, something that's not out there, you need to put in the work and find this sort of like effects right here. But for instance, I could grab one of this silhouettes that I'm drawing right now and throw it into Midjourney and like tell it to make a bow out of it. However, I kind of want to show you a more traditional approach to this sort of things, because I do believe that there is an important value in making sure that you can do this without the assistance of AI. So this right here, these two elements, they're interesting. They look fine. However, they're not really like making anything, or they're not really, I'm not really finding what I'm trying to look right here. So I'm going to show you another technique that we can use. If you grab a brush that has a sort of like a very random effect, like this smoke brush right here, look at this. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to scribble. And then I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to scribble again, and I'm going to make it smaller and scribble again. And as you can see, we're kind of like filling this with smoke, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is, and now that we have this, I can start finding shapes in the smoke, okay, or elements on the bow that might not have been there before. So I can find certain shapes and use the smoke as a sort of like inspiration to build this like silhouette for my bow. Eventually, we're just gonna erase all of these things right here. For instance, I really like this shape right here, kind of like going forward, and that's like a very, very interesting effect or piece of armor that we're getting right there. Gaming says, I never used other images or only images and fitted to Midjourney personally. I always use unique prompts or sometimes would ask ChatGPT. Yeah, that's the thing. But even if you just use even if you just come up with a prompt, the images that it's using to generate your prompt are going to be images that you see everywhere. Here, I'm going to show you a very quick example. Let me go to my Midjourney chat right here. So yesterday I was trying to come up with like a honeycomb. For instance, I tried really hard to get like a honeycomb, like a haunted honeycomb, because I was doing something for a personal game, and I couldn't make it do it. Like I tried several times and it was not working. So if we just say, imagine sci-fi bow game art concept, we're gonna get something and things are gonna look cool. You might be like, oh, that's an amazing idea, and that's like just perfect. It's not that it's not perfect. It's going to be rendered very beautifully because these engines can do that, and they can give you a very nice result. But the thing is, and I've talked about this before, I feel like the AI stuff misses a lot of the like soul that you can like get or give to an element. Roma, you were not following, Roma. What's up, man? Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. So there you go. For first things first, you can see that this AI is not really finding, like it found a bow here, but everything else is just doing like some very weird effects. But for instance, this shape right here, that looks really interesting, like a really round bow. That looks nice. Like all of these shapes right here, very, again, like angular, very sharp shapes. I could use those shapes as an inspiration and be like, hey, you know what? Let's do that. Let's have like a very sharp shape here on the top and bottom part of our bow. Let me grab a sharper brush here. There we go. So we can have again like a sharper effect right here. We can do the same thing over here, and that sort of effect, that sort of element can definitely give me a nice inspiration on how and why I'm going to be picking the shapes that I'm going to be picking. But again, from a design perspective, if I was making a game from scratch or something like that, I would not rely heavily on AI. And I'm gonna tell you why. This is a very important thing of why you shouldn't rely on AI so heavily. If you rely on AI, one of the things that's gonna happen is you're not gonna have copyright. Recently, on the Supreme Court in the US, I think they ruled out that anything that's generated by AI is not protected under copyright. Like by default, if you take it and then you like tweak it around and you modify it, then that's fine. But if you just take an image and you think that that's gonna save you, it's not gonna save you. So yeah. And yeah, that's right, Kingster. Like this is what we're doing. We're combining like the traditional. This is one of the traditional ways to do it. We're combining ideas and we're getting our inspiration from other elements. Another thing that I really like doing is using negative shapes. This is another like little cool trick right here. I'm gonna make a very like big bow right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna give it a lot a lot of volume, and then I'm gonna paint with white. And by painting with white, as you can see, we can generate some interesting shapes. Okay, we're using negative shapes in this case. We're using the silhouette of the object to generate and create something. Again, just an idea that's slightly different. Oh, I like this. Oh, okay. Here's the. You guys remember Bob Ross and how his like happy little accidents? This thing right here. This is telling me floating crystals, floating floating bits. I like that. I think that looks interesting. It gives it makes an interesting silhouette, and we can definitely use that for our concept. So let's do 2 more. This one right here, I'm gonna go again a little bit bulky, kind of like military grade or military style effect. We're gonna go a little bit bulky. The interesting thing about bows is that let's do like a scope or something right there. The interesting thing about bows is that it doesn't matter how you do them, they still need to look kind of like not slim but like stylized or refined, because they're supposed to be like an elegant weapon, something like that. And let's do another like spiky bow over here. And the idea, these are called thumbnails. You probably, if you've ever taken like a concept art or a drawing class, you've probably seen this type of approaches. And the important thing about thumbnails is that they should be fast. Like some people spend way too much time working on a thumbnail, and then it's more like a finalized drawing or finalized concept than a thumbnail. And again, the idea of the thumbnail is just get ideas out there, get silhouettes out there, and find things that are looking good. Come on, Phantom. You're not an accident to us. Don't worry. Someone else had a very cool comment here. Time Bomb, thanks for the follow, man. To be honest, generating stuff with AI nowhere as fun as it does have it's again, it has its purpose, right? Like if you're gonna do just like random barrels, chairs, like maybe a table, you're like, this is from a business perspective, right? If you're a studio and you need to create a lot of assets, you want your talent, you want your artist to be working on the very ambitious things, the characters, the bosses, the creatures, and you want to leave the boring stuff, the in Spanish we call it talacha, which is just like the thing that has to be made but no one wants to make it, to the AI. So if you don't want to waste 1 hour of your concept artist doing a barrel, just do a barrel with AI and that's fine. That's what Blizzard is going to be doing, by the way. I'm not sure if you guys heard that Blizzard has saved all of its illustration and images into its own like database, and it's training its own AI for in-house use, so that whenever they need to create like something new, they can use that to again get into interesting ideas. Okay, so Kings here says, oh yes, I want to ask, this negative space concept is easy in 3D code to cut and delete geo with brushes, but it's quite hard in ZBrush. Do you know? In ZBrush you have the knife brushes. Let me show you real quick. Knife brushes are an excellent way to do the thing that you're describing. Knife brushes were introduced like 2 years ago, and they've been refining them quite a bit throughout the years. So let's say we're doing, I don't know, again, like a blade or like a knife or something. If you go to your shift key, or the smooth, no, sorry, control and shift, where the select rect is usually, you're gonna find the knife circle, knife curve, knife lasso, and knife rect. For instance, the knife rect, literally, if you just, oh wait, we need to delete subdivisions, geometry, delete lower, there we go. If you just like do this, that's it. Like you literally just cut the negative shapes out of the object, and then you can press Alt and cut from, I believe there's a way to cut in the inside. Like that, there we go. And then we have things such as the knife curve, which is again really good because you can do like curvature and like interesting angles. It works like exactly like any curved brush inside of ZBrush. And then you also have the knife circle. Oh, there we go. So this is a way in which you can like just dynamesh things. This is just dynamesh, right? So you just dynamesh, then you just like, they're not organic though. I'm not sure what other object might. I mean, like booleans, if you use like some inflate stuff, could be a good option, maybe. But yeah, they're not as organic, if that's what you meant. Okay, so we got A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. What I'm gonna do now, let's make our canvas a little bit bigger. There we go. We're gonna start selecting things from this guys that we really like. So for instance, from this guy right here, I really like this bottom part. I feel like this sort of like floating bits. Gonna control T and flip vertical. There we go. I feel like these bits are really nice for the whole thing. And armor wise, I kind of really like this shape right here. So I'm gonna grab this guy right here, just duplicate over here. And as you can see, we're doing kind of like a collage of all of these different elements. For the bottom part, I think I'm gonna grab this one right here, and I'll explain why in just a second. So there we go. Oh. So now that we have this, we can start refining the silhouette. We can be like, okay, this is gonna be the riser, which is usually where the arrow goes. It's gonna be like the scope or something. This is gonna be like an armor plate. And then there's gonna be, I'm not sure what they're gonna be. I kind of want to go for like the sci-fi look. So I just want to have like floating, like small sci-fi bits. So I'm not gonna be as edgy. I'm not gonna leave them as pointy. But these are gonna be my main ideas right there. And I kind of want this thing to be like an armor. So this thing is gonna look, yeah, a little bit armor-ish. Let's clean some of the smoke right here. Again, let's keep this a little bit more faceted. I'm gonna add a little bit more volume on this side right here. Again, from a silhouette perspective, so that it makes a little bit more sense. And of course, we would have the line, our string, going right around there. So this would be the first approach, right? And from here, keep refining. It's fifth one looks dope. This one right here, yeah, this one it's interesting. I think this one looks a little bit more like fantasy, so that's why I'm mixing it a little bit with other things, so that it doesn't look so fantasy. I mean, it's still gonna look a little bit fantastical, but it's a different sort of like approach that I want to go for in this particular one. Now, another common mistake is you find something that looks interesting, such as this one right here, and you just stop. You don't explore anymore, and that's not ideal. So in this case, I'm gonna select this guy right here. We're gonna duplicate it 2 more times right here, and then we're gonna start doing variations on this. For instance, let's get rid of the scope for this one. Let's I'm gonna keep the lower portion like this, or like dagger or something, and then this upper portion I'm gonna make it more like an armor sort of piece. So I'm gonna remove some of those like floating bits that we have. And it could be that we end up having like the same, like first one, this one right here, but it's always a good idea to try and see if we can find interesting effects. Now, sometimes, I don't think this brush pack has it, but there are some brush packs that have like this sort of like mechanical, just random thing that you can use to again generate like texture. Let me make this bigger. Yeah, like this one right here. So as you can see, this brush right here has something called size jitter and other types of jitter. So we can use this to again like find something interesting. In this case, it's not really working. But keep in mind that there are a lot of brushes that can help you on this exploration phase of the element, so you can find again interesting shapes. This one I'm gonna push it back. I've always liked this sort of like wing motif for bows, so it could be something like that. Let's flatten them out. Probably push that one a little bit there as well. And there we go. So this looks like I kind of like the dichotomy here of this sort of like really royal, again, like angel wing sort of thing, and then this like destroyed chaos or something. So it could be like a yin yang sort of thing where you have like a positive energy on the top and then negative energy on the bottom. I don't know. It looks interesting, but it's not really like hitting it, or it's not really giving me what I want. However, on this one, I feel like if I added another like little circle right there, this could potentially look a little bit nicer. That looks interesting. because that little circle right there could be the point from where the string attaches. I think I like this one. This lets I see dragon taking flight with big wings, first and third one. Yeah, right. That looks nice. I'm going towards this one, but let's make a poll. Can we make a poll, David? Can we choose between A, B, and C? And you guys are gonna tell me which one of these 3 designs we're gonna continue working on. Just get my water real quick, and let's see if we can get a decision. Or just let me know in the chat which one do you guys. There we go. Which ones do you guys prefer, A, B, or C? The chat should be at the top of your at the top of the messages or the chat. I feel like C looks a little bit like Xenoblade. I'm a huge fan of Xenoblade, by the way. I feel like B looks a little bit more like fantasy. And this one needs a little bit of something. I'm not sure still what. I need a little bit of something to make it really pop. We can add another like stabilizer here. Some bows have like stabilizers. That's something that we're gonna be doing. But I really like this sort of. I'm really going towards. Wait, I made a mistake here. That's B and that's C. My bad. Yeah, C is popping out quite nicely as well. C is like they have something, and this is a cool thing about going for ideas. The C, okay, we're gonna go with C. So this is a cool thing about working with this sort of ideas. When you find something that you like, you can then work on another one. So right now we're gonna work on C, but later on, if I want to do another bow, I could just do mid 1-1. It was C, the original C. Okay, we're gonna go with this one. With original B. Let's go right here. There we go. Sorry, my bad, because I switched these things up, so maybe maybe I confused you guys, but let me know if this is not the one that you guys picked. Okay, so now that we have this, we can go to the next stage, which is sketching. We can actually start sketching something. I'm gonna go to the background, and I'm gonna set the background to a middle gray value. That's the one. There we go. Yeah. So we're gonna go and set this background to a middle gray. And then this, guys, I'm gonna set the blending mode to multiply so that we get rid of any like elements, and we're gonna really like bring the opacity down. I'm gonna add a new layer, and here this new layer is where we're gonna start doing the sketch. So I'm gonna grab my brush right here. There we go. I'm gonna make my brush smaller, and now is where we can start like thinking about some design elements. This thing, I mean, no questions asked. That's gonna be like a light sphere or a light like a light ball or something. So it's just gonna be like a glowing magical sphere right there. I have very scratchy lines, so you guys are gonna have to excuse me there. I'm not a really good like drawing artist. But here, let's make our lines a little bit thinner. Here we can start sketching the general idea of what we want. So we know for sure that this is gonna be this sort of like cylindrical shape right here, and we can start making it like mechanical, right? I've always liked this sort of little jumps on the design where not everything is on the same level. And this is the fun part about the silhouette, that you have a very nice silhouette. We know the silhouette works because that's what you guys picked. And if you guys picked it, it usually means that it has something that's interesting to you. But now we need to figure out what we're going to be adding on all of these things right here. So for instance, here, I want to make a cut. It's definitely going to be another like piece right here. Actually, let me go back, because we have this thing like poking out, and I like that shape. I kind of want to connect it. The bottom part right here. And it's all about finding a nice balance of shapes, a nice balance of forms. So as you can see, I have the decision here. It's a very, very clear example of why learning a little bit about design is always helpful for any kind of like construction that we're doing. I have the option to bring this all the way to the bottom right there, but these lines, they don't look that nice, right? If I keep it like right around here, it also doesn't look that great. So It's about finding the balance and being like, yeah, this shape right here looks like thick enough, strong enough so that it can hold whatever thing we're gonna be like throwing at it. Then we have this line right here. And this pylon right here, I kind of like want to make it a little bit more vertical to give it this sort of sharpness. And we can continue it right there. So you can, it implies that this thing right here and this thing right here are connected. And we're generating this like very, very interesting armor piece. Sci-fi, one of the things that there's a very famous concept in sci-fi, let me show you. They use this a lot in Star Wars and in Blade Runner and stuff like that. It's called Gradle. Gradle sci-fi. Almost sure it's called Gradle or Griddle. No, it's not Gradle. Where? Oh, what was it called? I always forget about this. Sci-fi random. It's this sort of thing. There's a name for it. If you guys know, let me know in the comments. There's a name. Greeble. There we go. King's here. Thank you. Greeble. Greeble. So Greeble is this thing that they do in sci-fi stuff that looks cool, but works or makes absolutely no difference. It's just a way to make things look cool. They use this for the Death Star. They use this for the Millennium Falcon, for the X-Wing, for all of the ships in Star Wars, and again in a lot of sci-fi productions. And Gribble is again, it's just random detail that looks functional but might not be functional. However, there's a balance. You always want to have this balance. This is an excellent, I know this is like AI, we're talking about this, but it's actually a good AI design because you can see there's a lot of gribble right here making it very noisy, but then we have areas that are a lot smoother and a lot like softer, right? So you always want to have this sort of a balance between things. One of the best like 3D artists for this is of course Vitaly Bulgarov. You guys, like he's like the Raphael Grassetti of mecha design, and you can see in his designs he always follows this sort of like approach where he's gonna have a lot of very like dense and very busy areas, and then he's gonna have very like unsaturated or smooth areas where your eyes can rest. I'm a huge fan of this, guys. There was other one, I forgot his name. But yeah, this guy's insane. Vitaly Bulgarov is really a master of his craft as well in the sci-fi sort of stuff. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to create our own little stuff right here, and this is the kind of complexity that we're going for. So right here, for instance, I see another thing, and that to me looks like another thing that we can indent in our element. Okay, to create another little like file right here. Now we're going to be going all the way to this part right here, which is going to be the riser. And the riser is a very important part of a bow because that's where the arrow rests when you're about to shoot. So all of this upper area, really want to keep it really well constructed. There we go, something like that. Erase some of that. And that's it. So as you can see, we get this like interesting look here on the top. On the bottom, what should we do this? Because I feel inclined to oh yeah, really? That's nice. I don't have a medical background though. I wouldn't call myself a medical background. I just took 1 year of medicine. That's not too much. So Marco Plouffe. I'll look at that guy in just a second. So what do you guys think? What should we do over here? Because it really talks to me, and it feels like it could be like a very nice like crystal structure, like very organic. And it could be that all of the energy from the bow is being like mined from this element. And then it has a sort of like mechanical, and I feel like a mechanical sort of like mine or something extracting the power from the bow. And then like moving it all the way to the top to power this up and reconnect it. I feel like that's an interesting story for this bow, like that sort of connection. It could later be from a game perspective that this crystal right here, you can change into other types of crystals. So you can change to like red crystal, blue crystal, green crystal, and depending which crystal you use on your bow, you're gonna get a different sort of like effect. What do you guys think? Does that sound like a cool idea? Like have the crystal change the type of element that you're shooting your bow with, and then this is like the condenser or something that extracts the information or extracts the element from the crystal, and then you use it to shoot the bow. That's when the other part of the whole process comes into play, and this is one of the things that we're actually going to be evaluating in the contest. David, if we could link the video of the contest, that would be great, so that people that are just tuning in can check it out. But we have this is like, this weapon was for a contest that we're hosting. Of course, this one's not going to participate, but the idea is that you need to create the story of your weapon as well. So the story could be that there's this civilization, this aliens or whatever, that they found that they could extract energy and just like energy and force from certain crystals, and depending on the color of the crystal, they could imbue the weapon with different properties. So in this case, like this is the, like, you would give the people this elements right here, and the of course the riser, it would give them the effects, and then they would use the element to produce this. Yeah, I mean, Roma was you were a winner, right? We did this contest on another place last year, and it was slightly different because you didn't, like, you had to do an original one, but you didn't have to create a story or anything. And I think Roma won. He created an amazing assault rifle. I'm gonna look for a bow riser, and here again is where you can utilize something that already exists to just like make your design more realistic and better. So for instance, this is a very common type of riser. I'm just gonna copy this image, I'm gonna paste it right here, and make it a little bit actually smaller because I want the bow to be quite big. Let's bring this down here. I'm just gonna reduce the opacity and like nest this right around there. Go back to our paint layer and literally just trace. I know tracing sometimes is seen as a bad practice, but in this particular case, since we're just doing the very basic silhouette, we're gonna change the insides of the bow. I don't think that's really that much of a problem, because you won't battle with me. Wish I could participate in the contest, says Andy, but I really need to focus on my portfolio, so I'll be done next time. That's fine. We're gonna have more contests down the line. October, we're gonna have a Sculptober thing as well. There's not gonna be prizes, it's just gonna be for fun, but we're gonna be having that on Sunday. I'm gonna be announcing the list of our like internal Sculptober thing. The idea is to have like just quick sketches, kind of like launch crunch sort of thing, and we're gonna be working on that as well. And then we're gonna have our Halloween week later down the month. I really like that week because we can do very cool stuff as well. There we go. Yeah, so that's the riser, and as you can see, that's the general idea. Now, what else can we do here? Layering again is always a good idea. So if we already have this shape right here, another thing we can do is just layer another similar shape on top of it, and that creates a lot of complexity. You see this a lot in like sci-fi, medieval armors, where they will literally just layer the same pattern in like shoulder guards and hip guards and stuff like that, and that sort of stuff really helps. Aspectax, thanks for the follow, man. Welcome to the club. By the way, if you guys are not on our Discord channel, we got a lot of stuff going there as well. Always very cool. Okay, so we got this. I really like how this is looking. I'm gonna make this a little bit thicker on the riser side of things, and we definitely want some negative shapes right here. So here is where we can use the same, again, patterns that we have, the same sort of like shape language, and if we have this sort of like circle effects, well, some circular like holes, like starting maybe with a big one. The reason why risers usually have this holes is to make them a little bit less heavy. So we can add one right there as well. We can add another sort of like little armor right here. Let's paint this out. And this would be like my initial ideas. Like, okay, do I like it? Does it look balanced? Does it look cool? I feel like it does. I feel like it's a little bit like the proportions are not there. So I'm gonna look for my recurve bow again. Recurve bow. And let's take a look at how the proportions are looking. This was the image that we were using. Let's use this one instead, just to get a side view. Again, in Photoshop, very cool trick. If you use multiply, you get rid of the white color. So the white color becomes transparent. And mainly here, what I want to make sure is that the size of the bow is appropriate. So if my riser is around this side, yeah, that looks about right. However, I feel like due to the chunkiness of the pieces that we've added, it looks a little bit like thick or dense. So I want to use some liquify options to just like bring the curvature back a little bit. Let's see. I'm gonna go now down here, and I'm gonna again bring the opacity down on the bow. And what I want to do is I'm gonna grab my drawing, which is this one. And I'm gonna press Ctrl L or Ctrl T. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna select this option called distort, or sorry, warp. And with warp, we can, as the name implies, just warp the bow a little bit and try to recover or push or get back some of that like curved effect. You see titans? What kind of titans? There we go. I think the riser definitely needs to be a little bit thicker. Oh, Roma versus Sarn. They're gonna be fighting. Yeah. Okay. So let's make the riser a little bit thicker right there. That looks better. Same thing right here. Cool. So this would be, as you guys can see, a very nice like sketch idea of the whole thing. This is what I would present to my client or the game director or whatever. It's like, hey, I came up with this idea. The aliens, they build this like metal sci-fi things to harness the power of these crystals. They plug in the crystal at the very back. They can, like, the crystals could also be used as a melee weapon. So if someone is attacking you close range and you don't have time to shoot, you just like move it and just like, I don't know, like punch it with it. Yeah, it kind of looks like Horizons, right? And here's the next part of the process. Now that we have a good idea of what we want, we need to look for other types of inspiration and see what people have done and see if we can incorporate some of that stuff into our elements. So if we look for Horizon, Zero, Dawn, Bow, we're gonna find a lot of images, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. This one's a little bit more tribal, but I really like some of the the indentations and things that they've added. I'm also gonna look for, because again, I'm reminded a little bit of Xenoblade, so I'm gonna look for the Monado. And you can see the designs don't have to be overly complicated. Like the Monado design is actually rather simple, but it looks cool. And that's all you need. Sometimes you just need a simple, cool design, and that's more than enough to get a nice effect. So let's copy this image right here into Photoshop. Let's copy the image from Horizon Zero Dawn. This one right here. Someone else had another idea of like sci-fi. We can even look for a sci-fi bow. And we're gonna find something, and maybe we find a bow that we like and we find that's cool. Like, this is way too busy for like this one right here. Looks quite nice, so I'm gonna copy that one. And now what we do is we grab inspiration and we use that inspiration to make our design even better. So I'm gonna create a new layer right here, and I'm actually gonna use a different color. I'm gonna use like a green color to add on top of these things and see how these elements are influencing our design. So for instance, this guy right here, I really like what they did here with the riser. It's a slightly different, and I feel like adding those like sharp, strong lines right here could be potentially good. Let's make this a little bit lighter. There we go. I'm gonna add another like point right there. The arrow is usually like in this, actually it's like around here. So let's draw the arrow, because the arrow is gonna like cement the whole thing. Also, we definitely need to add the string. So it's gonna be from here, or actually it's gonna be from the crystal up. So that tells me that we need to modify at least the little like round thing a little bit. Let's go back to this one. We want the center of the sphere to be right there, which means that we might need to change the design of the bow slightly. It encompasses that, like it holds the sphere nicely. Here I'm definitely thinking about like Tesla coils or something, so we can have like a couple of things like poking out of this like round element, and this will be like dynamic particles or something, just like a sphere with like pulsing things just moving from here. Oh, was the stream lagging? I'm sorry. Maybe it's the electricity like having some issues. Okay, that looks a little bit better, but now I feel like the bow is a little bit too heavy on the top part. So to balance it out, we need to add something down here. And I really like this, again, like sort of things that they have. So we can add another sort of like a blade or protector or something, like holding to this area. It's getting a little bit messy, so let's clean this up. Something like this. That's also gonna give me some like nice negative shapes, because this thing can be held this way. And then like this way. I don't know what that could be. We'll need to find an in-universe explanation to what this thing is. Probably like a stabilizer or something. I don't want to make it super sharp down here, so let's keep it more like a square shape. Because the general language that we're following on this weapon is like a strong armor. And again, that little detail that we added there, as you can see, it kind of like pushes the weight to the bottom part. It stops it from being too heavy on this side, and it should allow us to balance things out a little bit more. Let me get rid of this green thing. We're already doing it over here, so I do want to have this. There we go. So let's do a very straight piece right here. This could potentially be like an armor piece on the other side of the weapon. So when you hold, you usually hold. Actually, it's going to be on the hand side of the weapon. So you hold the weapon, and on this part right here, you would have that sort of like shield for your stuff. World of Warcraft used to do this quite a bit on their weapon designs. Actually, the first character that I did, or that I played with when I played World of Warcraft, was a hunter. I've always liked the hunter sort of like archetype. Trying to find the shape language right here. There we go. Now, we gotta be very careful with this sort of things right here. This is a no-no. This is called a tangent, and it's when you have two elements that are really close to each other, and they kill whatever perspective you were building, or whatever layer you were building. So ideally, you always want to leave a little bit of space between elements so that they don't compete against each other. Because again, otherwise it's just it's not good. Get rid of these things right here. And again, since this thing is going to be like an armor now, the whole riser thing kind of like changes. We're still gonna have to do the riser because it's gonna be underneath it. But if this is like, again, the concept art, we want to play with how this reads. I really want straight lines here. Not too many though. See that's another tangent, so we don't want that. At the same time, I don't want to have just like a big plate right there, so maybe some cut lines right here, very simple ones, and very sci-fi, very traditional. Go down here. There we go. That looks a little better. Down or up here, we also need to decorate a little bit. So for instance, here, I'm gonna remove a little bit of space and create a little bit of a bevel, or like a different piece, similar to what we have right there. I would probably do another one. Like I really like this piece that's right there on the inside, so it kind of makes sense to show it a little bit over here as well. Be careful with the tangents. Something like that. And the reason why that piece is important is because I'm imagining, again, the crystal, and add this on another layer, and I'm imagining the energy being colored on some elements of the bow. So all of this area, of course, all of this sphere, like that little line right there. We need something over there. Of course, the whole crystal over here, be green with its little like fragments floating around a little bit. This guy's right here, and those, like that color right there, would be the color that would change as you change like elements and materials, right? There's little like details and stuff. It's kind of like it shows you that the energy is flowing from one point to another. This one right there, for instance, that's a good point. Another circle right here. And probably another little like window on this area. Will we sculpt today? I think I'm gonna be doing a basic blocking. There we go. So yeah, this will be the general concept of the bow, I would say. One of the things that we will definitely need is a front view of this thing. But yeah, let's go to concept, or let's go to some blocking. I still feel like this thing right here is a little bit small. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make the grid a little bit bigger. And then where's the green stuff? I'm gonna grab these two guys. Let's duplicate them. And I'm gonna Control T and or actually I'm gonna Control E to merge these guys together. Then Control T and warp. I just want to make this a little bit longer down here. There we go. Again, we want to keep the straight line coming from the sphere. So that's it. So just like fixing proportions a little bit. And look at that. In just a matter of like an hour or something, almost an hour, we went from having absolutely nothing to getting to some interesting concepts to, well, finding something that looks interesting and that we can start working with. We can start working on in the 3D world. So you guys like this concept so far? Is it looking cool? It's 11:56. 11:56. Looking good. Cool. So let's go to ZBrush. I normally don't do this inside of ZBrush, to be honest. The reason is upper part looks too heavy. How can we smooth it out? I feel like it balances out a little bit. Yeah, I can see what you mean. Okay, let's see what can we change here. I mean, in fantasy, we have the option always to, or we always have the excuse of, hey, it's just fantasy, right? Like, we don't have to make it super realistic. But let's see how we could. Cause that's a valid criticism. How can we make this a little bit lighter on the top? So I don't want to remove things. I think I just want to like modify elements. So I'm gonna select the layer. I'm gonna go to filter, and then there's this filter called liquify. Liquify is a filter that works. They use this for a lot of actors and actresses to just like move things around, right? So I'm gonna make the brush really big, not that big. And we're just gonna like slim down some of the elements. Gotta be very careful because we don't want to move the sphere from its position. We can definitely stylize this a little bit more. Yeah, Puppet Warp is also good. Both of them are nice. There we go. That looks way more stylized. I'm even tempted to do the same thing on the bottom part a little bit. Filter, liquify. Because now I feel like the bottom part looks a little bit too heavy. It's the same thing. We're just gonna. Gotta be very careful to kind of like keep the proportions and everything as clean as possible. But that's a good way to modify some shapes. And even if some shapes are like not perfect, we're still gonna go through the 3D process, and in the 3D process we might find certain things that need some correction. Well, I like this. I like this. Rotated 180. Let's see. Yeah, that's a great technique that Roma is saying. If we rotate this, you can tell. So crystal on the top, sphere on the bottom. I'm not sure. I don't like this, but there's a technique where you flip this horizontally, and when you flip something horizontally here in Photoshop, you can immediately see when things are like slightly skewed. For instance, I can see that the angle is slightly wrong, so I'm just gonna like modify it right there. And ideally, if you flip it, it should look good on both elements. If it doesn't look good on one of the sides, then that means that something needs to be changed. But I think this one looks good. I think we're in a good position here. Now, I think I'm actually gonna go to Blender first and just do a basic blocking. I'm not sure. I'm actually internally debating that right now, because we can definitely do the blocking instead of ZBrush. It's just that for hard surface, I've never liked ZBrush as much. What should we do? Let's do another poll, David. Should we do ZBrush or Maya for the blocking? Let's let the people decide. Yeah. Time to get out of my comfort zone. That would be a good challenge. Maya, yeah, I would 100% use Maya as well. I'm not sure if it would be faster, but it would definitely be cleaner. And cleaner is an important part right here. So let's vote. ZBrush or Maya? Should we do ZBrush or Maya or Blender? Yeah, so that's a question that I get asked frequently about, like, is there a software that's better than the other one? It's not that they're better. It's the software that you work with is the one that you're gonna be, what's the word? Or actually, the tool that allows you to get to the end result the fastest and with the best quality is gonna be the best tool for you. There are people that do amazing things like hard surface inside of Maya. There are people who do amazing things inside of ZBrush. I've seen people use Rhino or AutoCAD or other softwares that I would never use. And it's like, hey, if that's what you need or if that's what works for you, perfect. Give me just 1 second, guys. Give me just 1 second. Okay. Oh, we got a tie. My call. ZBrush versus Maya. Okay, let's do ZBrush. Because as someone mentioned, it's a good idea to get out of your comfort zone every now and then. So let's do ZBrush. Now, how would I approach this? I would probably do exactly the same thing that I was just doing right now. I would go for a cube and I would just start like cutting stuff up. I personally don't like using image planes inside of ZBrush. I've always found them very intrusive. Let's flip this. There we go. But we can use just like the normal like see-through option. Right here, just a little bit of see-through. So let's go piece by piece. So let's start on the top part here on the element. So the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna Dynamesh this, no, and we're gonna start cutting the pieces with the knife brush, and then just like scaling. This is just a blocking, by the way. Now, when you're using this tool, you can double tap Alt, and that's gonna give you a sharp line. It's really good. And it's a relatively fast way, again, to get the shape that you're looking for. So for instance, this one right here. That will be the first piece right there. And then let's go over here. Now here, what I need to be very careful about is try to keep the scale properly. I'm not gonna move the scale inside of Photoshop. There we go. Let's subtool and append a new cube. Dynamesh. Scale this up. Dynamesh. Gonna use this to cut the next piece, which is this very long piece. Go. Let's flip this around. Here's where I would do some corrections. So for instance, to keep things a little bit more symmetrical, I will try to keep the angle like this. And then here, I'm gonna go like down the middle. And I'm gonna press Alt. Generate the curve. I don't mind if the curve is not perfect because it's going to be covered by the rest of the elements. Now we just move this around. We select the other piece, and we know this other piece is going to be down here. So we play around with the thickness of the pieces to find something that looks good. There we go. Now let's append a pipe. Do we have a pipe? I don't think we have a pipe. I'm gonna go to the options over here, or to the to the sphere right here, and under the initialize, we can do a Q cylinder Y. I'm gonna that's fine. Let's Control D. No, not Control D. Let's go to Serum Measure. Let's get rid of this thing a little bit for a while. I'm gonna go to C Modeler. Sorry, we're gonna Q mesh the polygroup or polygroup all. So we want to do an inset polygroup all with a little bit of a thickness right around there. Perfect. And then with Q mesh, again, polygroup all, we just punch it so that we get this like round shape. We're now gonna go to bevel and bevel there. Let me go back. I'm just gonna click, 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 and click. And we Control D, a couple times, we're gonna have a really clean cylinder. Still not super clean, so I'm gonna go and insert some edges. Wait, what symmetry am I using here? Oh, okay. Let's rotate this guy 90 degrees. There we go. So now we can insert it with symmetry. And by doing that, now when we smooth this, we're gonna get a really nice clean cylinder. Go back to our bow right here. And we're gonna subtool and append this ring. It's right around there. Okay. And then with our knife curve, we need to dynamesh the cylinder. I'm gonna keep it. I was thinking about whether or not to give it the curvature right there, but I think it looks good, so there we go. So it's not an exact effect, and then we can like bevel the edges a little bit as well. That's it. We got the ring there. Get thinner, and again we find the basic elements right here to just generate the effect. Let's append the sphere already. We know that this sphere is going to be like right around there. Like should be pretty much projected on the center of the round thing. And it's important that we go to the front view every now and then to check the thickness of the object, because otherwise it might be a little bit too much for certain areas. And let's go to Photoshop. Let's focus on this spike now. Yeah, the sphere can be a mechanical eye. It can be like, there's a lot of things you can do with sphere. Okay, we're gonna do a pen, another cube. We're gonna push this in, scale this up. Really, we might need to make this a little bit lower. There we go. And first, I'm gonna focus on I'm gonna duplicate this one because we're gonna need 2 of these cubes. And first, I'm gonna focus on the green shape. The green shape right there. We're gonna do that one right there. Arambe, what's up, man? Welcome. Welcome to the stream. There. We might need to rotate this a little bit. There we go. So we match the proper like distance. Grab the next piece. Let's hide this one for just a second. And this one's going to be the armor. So we gotta be a little bit more careful with this one. A little bit more thickness there. Go. Go. Or double tap Alt to get that cut right there. Oh. If you double tap Alt, you're gonna get a strong cut. If you just tap it once, you're gonna get a smooth cut. There we go. Oh, it's not working perfectly. Okay, so let's dynamesh here again. Let's turn on polish with a high resolution. There we go. So it was having a little bit of an issue right there. Perfect. Cool. Let's get rid of the see-through. And that's it. Just push this one. This is going to be the armor. And this is going to be the crystal. And make it really thin right there. We start getting that play between like levels. So all of this like intricate details, that's amazing, because we're also going to be getting a lot of that in the or it's going to help a lot for the like metal edgework and things like that. So having those like specific variations is really good for texture, because every single little step that we have right there is going to help quite a bit. Now here though, like that super thin one, it's not ideal, so I'm just going to push it in a little bit more. Maybe scale it a little bit right there, because when you have really thin effects, then it becomes a little bit difficult to mask. You want to avoid that as much as possible. This is not bad because it kind of like flows into the element, so I like it. But that one, the other one that was really close there, I don't love it. So I'm even gonna like just cut that one out. There we go. Let's go to the next piece. So we got two pieces right here on this like upper part, or in this like main area. We got this little piece and this guy right here. And as you can see, it's nothing out of this world. Like this this basic construction here inside of ZBrush is relatively simple, because we just need to use our basic shapes to build the main elements. So even here, for instance, like if I just because I was a little bit worried about the scale. Turn this off. There we go. So you don't even need to match the scale perfectly. You can always do like small changes. For instance, this piece right here looks a little bit small. Hey, who just followed? Made for knee? Not sure how to pronounce your name, but thank you for the follow, man. Welcome. Make sure that we have symmetry turned on. There we go. Push this out. So with this one, we're gonna do this shape right here. So it's fairly easy, I would say. That, that, and then just find the proper thickness. In this case, I think this one's going to be a little bit thinner. And again, you can see, guys, how we're creating this sort of like elements. Even this one, this is like, again, the sort of like happy little accidents. Like that doesn't look bad. Like that little like negative shape that we got there looks interesting. So might as well keep it. We can keep it, or we can cut it like on the original concept, which is like following the same angle, like roughly around there. Like both of those, I think, look good. I actually think this one looks a little bit better. So there we go. And you can see this one has an indentation. So eventually, we need to go here. Give it a little indentation. Because on that indentation, we're going to have the other little cube, which is going to be like some flowing energy, right? So if we go right here, this is going to be really like even thinner than the other ones. But this is just a cube, so it's just a matter of finding the proper angle. Getting it where it's supposed to be. And that's it. Remember, this is only a blocking, so eventually all of these pieces will need to be modified and modeled properly. You can see there are some errors, for instance, on this piece right here, like the curvatures and everything is not perfect, but it's already giving us a really nice like idea of how things are supposed to look. Let's just do this piece right here. Let's Dynamesh. Too short. For instance, this piece that I'm just carving, I think that could be a very cool piece to work as an armor piece, so it's going to be going on top of everything else. So even on top of the what's the word, on top of the sphere. However, I don't like this thing like the interaction that we have right there, so I'm just going to slightly modify it, as you can see right there, and this is going to hold all of the elements together. And you can see we're getting a nice silhouette from the front. Like if you see this bow from the front, it's still quite slim. It's not super thick. And we get all of this very interesting ups and downs along the whole thing. That's the construction that we're going for. Let's do this piece right here. See the pen. There we go. We're gonna bring this one. And here's this is one of the things that I wanted to say. Like it doesn't matter if the scale is wrong. Like we can just cut the piece first and then do the scale properly. So here, I know this is very close to my face right there. We go right there, there, and right there. Perfect. And now just bring everything together, like position it how it's supposed to be. And this piece, of course, we scale it accordingly. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna have to leave. I'm getting some messages from the studio, and we really need to. I really need to go and check some of the stuff that people are working on. So I'm gonna have to leave earlier. Normally we go for 2 hours. But we're gonna be stopping the stream right now. But I want to show you one very cool tool that we can use to polish some of these elements. So see this piece right here. This piece is really nice, and we really don't need a lot of stuff for this piece to work. I'm gonna do a quick save. But we could do a very nice bevel on this thing. Unfortunately, the bevel is not gonna work as easily. But we have a very cool tool here inside of ZBrush. It's called the Bevel Pro. And we activate Bevel Pro. It's actually going to launch a small little like software that's outside of ZBrush, and we can use the software to do our bevel. So if I increase the bevel amount here quite a bit, you can see that's the bevel that we're going to be doing. And I can do this auto apply option, and look at that. We get a very nice, well, in this case it's not super nice. Not giving us the cleanest one. Let's reset. There we go. Let's increase the bevel amount a little bit. There we go. It's a little bit better. Perfect. Look at that. Gonna say very clean. So we just auto apply and save. Or actually not save, just hit OK down here. And now our piece is gonna have a bevel. It's using live booleans to do this. But as you can see, it's already gonna give us a more like stylized look for the whole thing. Finally, on the concept, we have like a little like a spot right there. So we're gonna do an append, and we're gonna append a cylinder. Let's rotate this around. Yeah, sorry, my friends, I gotta leave. I tried to scale this, and I told my artist to try to figure everything out, but there's a couple of things that we definitely need to figure out. So I'm gonna have to leave a little bit earlier. However, don't worry, this live stream, the full live stream, is gonna be available in YouTube tomorrow, so you guys can check it out. There's a lot of content inside of YouTube, and you guys can explore a lot of that. And yeah, hopefully with all of the things we have seen so far, you guys have a better idea of how to tackle and how to come up with your own weapon. Like we've been working on this for only 25 minutes, and we already have the main blocking of the top part of the bow. So if we had the full time, I'm sure we could have finished it. But again, I apologize, my friends. I really gotta leave right now. So yeah, this is the final result of this today's stream, my friends. We went from absolutely nothing. We had absolutely no, well, not absolutely nothing, but we didn't have any I always forget. There we go. We have absolutely no idea what we're gonna be modeling, and we've came up with a very cool concept. We've mixed a lot of famous games such as Xenoblades and Horizon and all that stuff. And I'm definitely gonna be finishing this bow. I can't promise I'm gonna be finishing it by the competition because we have other stuff coming here on the channel. But yeah, that's it, my friends. Thank you very much for being here this time. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm sorry that I couldn't finish the 2 hours that we would normally do, but I'm gonna be seeing you back very soon. Okay, that's it for tonight. I'll see you back on the next one. Bye bye.